Sports on a Wednesday. Going to have a great show this morning, talking about some stories that have come out. One local with high school football that we'll get to later on in the show, with what happened with Metro high school football yesterday and what's going to happen today with Mayor John Cooper, who's appearing on the Midday 180 later on this morning. So we'll discuss that. Wednesday also means throwing shade. I'm throwing shade pretty strong today because it's something that happened to me 4 times in a row that just really, really pisses me off over the weekend. So I'll get to my shade there. And then a report that's coming out of one SEC football administration that they don't want to play football. They would prefer not to play football. So we'll discuss that report here to lead off this morning's show, Zach, because I feel like it's not getting a lot of run in the media around the SEC, but one program doesn't want to move forward with this. And then we'll talk about Lincoln Riley and what's happening at Oklahoma as they had an outbreak of COVID-19 recently as well.
Yeah, no, this is it's going to be interesting. I think we got a lot to talk about. We got Shade, cool, calm, and collected today, trying to, talk about some testy stuff. But hey, I mean that's what the news is, and that's why we're here. I mean we got to discuss it. That's just what it is. So we've got some good topics on the SEC, and also my least favorite person probably on planet Earth, which is the mayor. And he'll speak today on Midday 180. Look, there's no free promotion, but I'm looking forward to hearing this guy speak because some big news came down last night. So we are going to have a good show, though. Open discussion. We're going to read comments. Your opinion matters. Our opinion matters. That's the best part about this show. Before we get started, though, please share the show, share the broadcast, bottom right corner of your screen. If you're watching on Twitter/Periscope, you'll see those 3 little dots. You can share the broadcast that way. Please retweet us. We need to pop up in your Twitter followers timeline. Also, as more people pile in over the next 5 to 10 minutes on Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? More people will join. And as you guys do, please share the show. Bottom left corner of your screen, sharing out of public. That is sharing out of public. Sharing is caring. And Austin, look, we've had a hell of a morning already. I'm going to start this bad boy off with Shade, which is the new desktop version of Facebook. I don't know what the hell is going on. And some people might not even know that happened, right? Because you just use your phone. But let me tell you, doing a show and being using Facebook, and then all of a sudden, boom, they've changed it. I don't know what the hell's going on. I did figure out how to change it back for a short period of time, but it's one of those things where you might as well just rip the Band-Aid off because Facebook's going to do, it's like the magic bucket, what Facebook's going to do.
Yeah, and I have an update on the magic bucket also for tomorrow's show that I have not told you about on purpose. So we'll get to that tomorrow. But I was trying to contemplate, do I want to throw shade on the new Facebook before we officially start the show? And then you just did it. So look, it's weird. And the old Facebook's going away September 1st. So we don't have a choice anymore. That's what I learned. So you have the option of going dark mode, but I couldn't do the
well, honestly, it's kind of like my HOA springing some speed humps all of a sudden, while after emailing on a Friday, speed humps on a Monday. So thank you, Facebook.
All right, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports, like our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville, YouTube, Twitch as well. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. We got to thank our sponsors because they truly do make everything happen with our show, and they help you guys out. RentersWarehouse.com, the professional landlords in the Nashville area. To find out how much your home can rent for, go to RentersWarehouse.com. Mandu, the pulse of fitness, where one 15-minute workout equals 5 hours in the weight room. Mandu.com, your first workout is free. The Tucker Agency, Nashville's independent insurance agency, saving you money on your personal insurance at TuckerTN.com. Calvin and Subtle for your new hardwood floors and finishing needs in the Mid-State. CalvinandSuttle.com. And whenever that injury happens, the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee is there to save you. BoneandJointTN.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Zach, the SEC feels like it's just going to plow through all this coronavirus. I saw the Vols were in pads for the first time yesterday. They threw out there on social media the pads popping. That made me feel good, made me feel a little confident about the SEC starting because, Zach, it's August 26th. The first games for the SEC are September 26th, about a month away. So that feels good. But there is one school that might not completely be bought in to having SEC football this fall.
Yeah, and that report, it kind of makes you – it opens your eyes. And it's not surprising what team it is and who wants out. There's only one team that could possibly want out. And this has been, I feel like, building for a while now, right, Austin? I mean, this is not new news that this – like – and we've talked about the landscape of the country, right? And we talked about, and we try, and I hate talking about politics, but it's just kind of, it is.
It's impossible to avoid this in this year. Like,
right. It's ingrained in our culture today in 2020. Been a hell of a year. But, you know, the Southeast wants to play, right? The West Coast does not want to play. And look, the virus is different in other places. We also understand that. You got to follow the data. Take that for data. The Big Ten, everybody's up in arms because that is a big-time football landscape. It really is, right? That region, the Midwest, they play football. You talk about knocking skulls. I mean, that Ohio and Ohio State in general, Michigan, those teams, they want to play, but the commissioner won't let them. Surprise, surprise, who wants out? It's Vanderbilt.
Yeah. And so I'm going to read, this is from Chris Lee, who does a fantastic job of covering Vanderbilt, and it is really has unearthed a lot of disturbing things from Vanderbilt's administration and athletic department this year. He put out a column yesterday on VandySports.com, which is Vanderbilt's rival site that Chris Lee runs. And it's got a lot of things in it about who's opted out for the season, who's just not showing up, what's happening with COVID cases. And what we're going to focus on with Vanderbilt today is this question that Chris Lee asked himself for his readers, and that is, will Vanderbilt play football this fall? He says, that's a question I can't answer. Then he follows that up with, there's been an undercurrent circulating for weeks, and it's come from within and also outside the school that the administration doesn't want to play this fall. Chris Lee continues, says there's also been talk that the league would pull out of football this fall, even if the SEC did not. He said that he's found nothing to substantiate that claim. And though pausing of fall camp isn't encouraging, because Vanderbilt right now has paused their fall football practice. They're not the only team that's done that. Notre Dame also had to do that as well. But I think it's interesting because they're separate. That Chris Lee's saying that there's the undercurrent circulating that the administration doesn't want to play, and then the separate line and paragraph that they would pull out even if the SEC moves forward, that he found nothing to substantiate that. But I do think this is interesting that Vanderbilt's athletic department doesn't want to play, and really what could happen moving forward as Vandy, Zach, has paused fall practice. That happened on Friday. When I told you about this story, what was your initial reaction? Because we don't talk about our feelings and our opinions pre-show.
Yeah, no feelings pre-show.
No feelings pre-show.
It's all business. All business all the time.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction was, honestly, and I thought of the Big Ten because we didn't know the interior structure of how they came about to cancel football. Like we knew at one point it was two teams, Nebraska and Iowa, wanted to play, but was there a vote? Who was a part of that vote? Were the athletic departments a part of that discussion? Ends up we found out no. When Vandy did this, it's just 1 out of 14, obviously, in the SEC. But how can that impact it, right? On the Big Ten, you had 8 out of, or however many teams, because they've added
12.
teams.
Yeah.
So there was 10 out of 12 that said, look, we don't want to play. 2 wanted to play. Does that matter in the SEC? And I don't know if this would happen, but if Vanderbilt, who usually doesn't necessarily take a stand in sports, but if they were to take a stand and say, we're not going to play, what would the SEC's first reaction be? I was curious about that. And then would it affect football this fall. So would they go out and get another team? Would they kick Vandy out altogether and say, see ya? Contracts do not let that happen. There's a running joke for SEC. Like, I went to Ole Miss, you went to UT, we got Florida fans in there. We've got Pat's in there somewhere as a Florida fan. Frank is. We got Vandy fans. We got everything. But the running joke is, why don't you just kick Vandy out? Vandy has been a part of the SEC for a long time. You can't just kick them out. Well, there's contracts and there's checks and balances.
Well, and within Chris Lee's article, when his column where he covered so much with Vanderbilt football, one of the sections in that piece was multiple sources have said the new chancellor, Daniel Diermeier, says he has no plans to leave the SEC. So that was a part
that's off the table. Now we're just talking about football. So we can get past Vandy leaving the conference. That's not happening, right?
Yes.
Will they play football? They said they don't want to.
The administration doesn't want to, because this morning I saw Derek Mason tweet out him wearing a mask in the weight room, and he says guys getting work in. Like, Derek Mason, I as time goes on, I respect Derek Mason more and more, especially as we learned what happened with AD Malcolm Turner and the previous chancellor and the rest of the administration. I feel more and more empathetic towards Derek Mason and the BS situation that school has put him in trying to compete in the SEC without giving him the resources to even give him a shot. Because the reality is Vanderbilt has 10 SEC opponents. And again, I keep referencing Chris Lee's article because it was fantastic. I'll just tell you this, what Derek Mason is up against. Chris Lee put what the early game spreads would be in all 10 of Vandy's games. Ole Miss is the smallest spread. Ole Miss minus 14. That's it. Everybody is a 2-touchdown or bigger favorite over Vanderbilt, and it goes as big as Georgia by 37. So Vandy's got a very, very tough season ahead of them. And Derek Mason wants to play, but his administration might be shooting himself in the foot.
And who's the decision makers, right? Who actually decides for the university?
Well, in the Big Ten's case, it's the presidents and nothing to do with the athletic directors or the coaches, who we all know want to play.
Right, and that's probably how it is everywhere. It's like, as you referenced, I think about it as it's like a teacher not getting a chalkboard or a whiteboard or any utensils to help teach their students. Derek Mason does not get the help that he needs, and now they're turning their back on him, because they have always stated this. This shouldn't be a surprise. Vanderbilt does not care about football. They never have, and I don't think that that's changing, right? They've done some changes. They got new coaches. They've got new athletic directors. They've done this. They just fired one, right? Or one guy left, however you want to call it. They don't care, and they never will. And so there was one team out of all 14 SEC teams, Vanderbilt will be the choice. But the question is not necessarily about Vanderbilt. The question is about, could they ruin the SEC this year?
Yeah.
Because the schedule has already come out. And do you just make that a bye if they don't want to play? Do they start getting into politics and start pushing power? We'll talk about that here in a little bit. What's going to happen? So the question is, could Vanderbilt ruin SEC football this year?
All right,
I think it's a good question.
It is. So we'll let you guys dive in here. So give your comments, your answers to that question. Could Vanderbilt ruin SEC football this fall? We'll get to those comments here in a second. But first, let me tell you about renterswarehouse.com. They're the professional landlords in the Nashville area. To find out how much your home can rent for, you go to renterswarehouse.com. And guys, right now is not the time to try to do it yourself. DIY? No, probably not a good idea to do that. Let the pros take over. And there's so many different ways that Renters Warehouse can help you out during this pandemic. If your mortgage is really, really kicking your ass right now, don't panic sell your home. You want to keep that long-term equity, because that's going to help you down the road. And you want to be able to alleviate some of that financial pain. Renters Warehouse can help you out and alleviate some of that for sure. Renterswarehouse.com is where to go.
Yesterday at training camp, if you watched our live update, you saw me rock this bad boy, AZ30, 30% off, shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com. We're doing that until football plays. Vanderbilt, you don't want to play. Once somebody plays football, That's what we're going up to. AZ 30% off that hat. That's really good right here. I want to start with this comment because I do think it's a good comment. Look, Brian Cash says, how? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Then follows up and says, you find them if they don't play. Well, the problem with that, and usually you always say fine them or sue them. Well, they're going to get sued. Speaking of lawsuits, Vanderbilt would sue the SEC because the justification of player and student athlete safety, right? So you can't fine them because that won't be the justification of why they don't want to play is for the health and safety of their students, right? That's why they wouldn't.
And let me lay this out there because Vanderbilt is really the only program in the SEC that we've seen pause their fall camp. And I'll read through. This is Vanderbilt's roster situation right now. They had at least seven players and one coach test positive for the coronavirus late last week. That caused them to pause. Around 20 players started a 14-day quarantine. And then at least 4 players have already opted out of the season. They did have Dimitri Moore opt back in yesterday, which is a big deal. He's our leading tackler from last year. He previously opted out. Now he's back in. And then, Zach, this is a weird thing, too. Every college football team has players transfer to other programs or leave or just retire or whatever, graduate transfer or undergraduate transfer. Vanderbilt has 10 players from last year's roster that still had eligibility remaining that are not with the football program right now. And again, this is all according to Chris Lee from Vandy Sports. Those 10 players and Deuce Doey Wallace is one of them, that have not announced a transfer. They have not announced a COVID opt-out. There's no reason. There's 10 guys. So they've got 4 that have opted out, several other transfers like normal, and then another 10 who just aren't around the program right now for an unreported reason. So that's Vanderbilt's situation.
Yeah, and we talk about, will they ruin the SEC? The other thing is, and Compton brings up, why doesn't Vandy just go independent like Notre Dame and play SEC and all the other sports? It's a good idea. The problem is there's 41 million reasons not to do that.
Every year.
$41 million, that check is the 600 million in shared revenue that the SEC gives. So they don't have incentive to leave. They actually have a lot of incentive to stay. And could they muck up the water? So I'm curious, Austin, do you think, can Vandy ruin the SEC football season if, in fact, their administrators say, look, we don't want to play, we're not going to play. Now that leaves a gap. There's 13 instead of 14, and I don't know how the SEC could handle it. Could you go out, like Jabu says, could you go out and just get an Ohio State?
That would be
Vanderbilt still wants the shared revenue. There's so many different things that could happen or couldn't happen due to contracts, I would assume.
Right.
You know?
All right, so I have a philosophy of how the SEC could handle it if Vanderbilt or, for example, one other SEC team does drop out. So I want to dive into that, and I need to prepare my thoughts for a second. So while I do this, because I think this actually could be a benefit to the SEC, not just because you get rid of a really bad team, but it would help the SEC get through the season. But first, tell people about Calvin and Subtle.
Yeah, Calvin and Subtle is where you need to get your hardwood floors. 615-448-6414. That's 615-448-6414. Hardwood and finishings. You can replace that mucky old carpet that you've been walking around on for months with brand new quality hardwood floors. CalvinandSubtle.com. Go online, schedule an appointment, or give them a call, 448-6414. They come into your house, use the CDC precautions. They look, you pick out your perfect hardwood floor from $1.99 per square foot to $20 per square foot. They've got you covered from luxury to cost effectiveness. They come in 1 to 2 weeks. Install, they order the materials, and boom. Your wife's giving you a big fat kiss on the lips after those brand new hardwood floors are installed. Your kids are loving it. Your house is upgraded. CalvinandSubtle.com.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. We still have a ton of show to get to with throwing shade later on, and also talking about what the mayor has done again yesterday. So here's what I want to get to. And I saw a comment because right now we're talking about what Chris Lee reported yesterday on VandySports.com, and I just want to reiterate his words, and I don't want to misconstrue them. But Chris Lee of VandySports.com asked himself the question, or he was asking if Vanderbilt would play football this fall. and he said that that there's been an undercurrent going around for a couple of weeks, that the administration at Vanderbilt does not want to play this fall. He said there's also been talk at the school would pull out of football this fall, even if the SEC did not. And Chris Lee said that he has found nothing to substantiate the claim of them pulling out if the SEC moves forward. The administration does not necessarily want to play. So here's my thought. Brent brought something. I think it was Brent. I want to find the right comment. Brent, or maybe it was Brian. Brian brought this up here. Brian Woods did. He says, in my opinion, just treat those games as a bye week, or honestly count them as a forfeit win for whoever is supposed to play them. So Brian's first part of treat those games like a bye week, because everybody's scheduled to play, like 9 SEC teams are scheduled to play Vanderbilt. So you would have to adjust the schedule overall, because not everybody, it's not a round robin like the Big 12 where everybody plays everybody. Not everybody plays everybody. But if you would adjust the schedule and pull it all back down to a 9-game schedule, you create an extra bye week. One of the biggest issues I had with the SEC's scheduling process is the lack of wiggle room, the lack of built-in collapsing to be able to adapt if something happens and you need to buy yourself a week or two because of an outbreak. There's only 11 weeks, 10 games and 1 bye week, and those 3 bye weeks are all grouped right next to each other in late October. So I think if Vanderbilt pulls out, you have to slightly adjust the schedule for everybody, but I think you keep it 11 weeks with 9 games and you build yourself more wiggle room so you have the ability to accordion something or to move it around a little bit like the ACC did. The ACC, I thought, did the schedule the right way because they built in more places where they could move things around in case of an outbreak.
Well, there's 2 different philosophies, right? You start later, so you figure out how to do all the protocols and keeping people safe.
And you figure out the other student outbreak, which Alabama's going through right now. Tennessee has had it. Everybody's having it, right?
Right. So that is the benefit of that. But I also agree with you. Reschedule instead of cancel. And that's the luxury if, in fact, this happens. Now, I don't think Vanderbilt is going to pull out. I think Vanderbilt will play because of $41 million. I think Vanderbilt will play even though their administrators do not want to play. I think the pressure of the SEC will force Vanderbilt to play. It's weird because usually we're in such cancel culture, it forces you to not do things.
But if you're Vanderbilt, like, let's think about this. If you're Vanderbilt, and Chris Lee said that around 20 players started a 14-day quarantine, and that happened like last Thursday or Friday, there's not a lot of time leading up 14 days, and then you start fall camp. Excuse me. Like, you're already behind where you've got 4 players who have publicly opted out. You're missing 10 other guys who have scholarship eligibility. Like, you're already at a disadvantage from a numbers issue. If you're Vanderbilt, and let's say this 14-day quarantine does not work or does not stop your outbreak, you're getting really close. We're 1 month away today, August 26th to September 26th, for the first week in the SEC. Vanderbilt could be drastically behind where they're already likely to go 0-10. As I mentioned, the closest line in a game is Ole Miss -14 this year for Vanderbilt. They're already at a massive disadvantage before any outbreak happens.
Yeah, and Austin, this is where I struggle with where we are today, obviously compared to where we were in March. But I struggle with sports starting because it's really not about the virus. It's about the protocol once you are tested positive, right?
Sure.
The 14 days really destroy your season, not the virus. And that's where the fear comes in and the spread of it. And my shade is going to go to hit on that with the CDC. But things have changed and evolved. It's not about the virus when it comes to sports. It's the protocol that influences what your roster looks like. Because, look, we know more about the health issues or maybe lack thereof with these type of people in these types of situations when it comes to COVID-19. But when guys are 14 days out, that's 2 weeks, right? And You're going to get tested and all this stuff. And that's what's going to hurt the season, because the justification, which is justified, we don't have the guys to play, right?
Yeah.
We don't have any more quarterbacks. We don't have any more right tackles. Our entire defensive line is not there. Whether that happens all at once or individually, that's the justification to say we can no longer play. And that's the sad part, because every single solitary one of those defensive linemen or tight ends, they're going to get well, or they're going to be asymptomatic or whatever, and they could play. They just are trying to use the precaution.
Oh, you brought it up. You said, what if like the entire offensive line is out, right? Well, Lincoln Riley earlier this week, actually yesterday on Tuesday's Zoom conference, Lincoln Riley, the Oklahoma head coach, said this, quote, "We lose all but one person at a position group, a major position group on the field, and we have to practice that day with a position where we had multiple players on the field at one time, and we had one player there." And he didn't say what position group, but that sounds – I doubt it's offensive line. And that sounds like wide receiver or defensive back or linebacker, where you've got 3 or 4 guys on the field at one time, and you only got one dude out there who can actually practice, and everybody else is in quarantine. And Oklahoma had to do something with that. Now, he said their outbreak is under 10 right now, total players, but who knows where that goes from here. But it's going to be interesting, because you feel like the NFL is doing a great job with the lack of positive tests. So if they continue to go through that, once games happen and you've got 0 positive tests on the Tennessee Titans and 0 positive tests on the Denver Broncos, they can play without any thought of somebody transmitting the disease to the other person, right? Because there's nothing there. So, but what happens leading up to that is very important. And these college campuses just make things so complicated.
And this is the mystery that we don't know, that we will soon find out. And that is, when you play football against other players, right? When it's a contact sport, will the cases go up? Will they stay the same? We don't know, right? We find that out really September 12th, that weekend, right. And then later on moving forward, right? With the NFL coming back, and obviously college ramping up throughout the course in the month of September.
For sure. All right, A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. We still got a loaded show. Shade, Sean says early shade for me. So let's, he's talking about in the Northeast Tennessee, it's no longer 14 days, it's 24 days. So you missed nearly an entire month. So early shade for Sean Gill. We're going to get to some big shade, and this involves Mayor John Cooper, and I think another villain. There's one other villain alongside Mayor John Cooper. It's keeping Nashville high school football from playing. But before I tell you that one other villain and let Zach tee off a bit, I'm going to tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. Don't fumble on your recovery. You're going to get hurt. That's just the odds of life, right? Something's going to happen. It's not your fault, but you got some type of injury. So you need to make sure you have the right people take care of that injury so it does not hinder the rest of your life moving forward. And the Bone and Joint Institute can do that. They're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. They've got over a dozen doctors in that one beautiful building right there in Franklin that can do everything. And they have you in that building from start to finish of your recovery, from diagnosing what the injury is to the rehab process and beyond. boneandjointtn.org is where to go.
A to Z Sports. So something happened last night that was the least surprising of anything that has ever happened. And that was when the Metro School Council came together to decide whether if Metro schools should play contact sports this fall. The results are in, and it's not going to happen.
Well, it's been delayed again. So it's
Not
just
gonna
like
happen.
it's been the can has been kicked down the road further, right?
The can is going to get run over by an 18-wheeler if it keeps getting kicked, because this thing's been being kicked since April.
Sure.
I remember when they rolled out all these phases. We should have seen the BS then, but we didn't.
So here's what I think. Obviously, Mayor John Cooper is the man behind all of this, because what happened last Friday, Zach? High school football in the state of Tennessee played games. Now, they had a lightning delay, which was annoying, and they're probably going to have a hurricane to deal with, and a lot of games are moving from Friday up to Thursday to avoid the hurricane passing through. So now Nashville in Metro schools have had to wait to start contact practice. And they were waiting until after Labor Day, which is now a week and a half away. And then they were going to revisit it then. Now what happened is they have kicked it another month down the road, and they're going to wait until at least October. And here's the other villain that I want to point out. And this was broken by tnhighschoolfootball.com, that they learned that MBA, Montgomery Bell Academy, is planning on opening their season at St. Benedict in Memphis on Friday, September 4th, before Labor Day weekend, when initially Metro Nashville and the independent schools of Nashville said that they weren't going to do anything until at least after Labor Day. And the headmaster, Bradford Gioia, I don't know how to say that name, he co-signed the document saying that pause and not do any in-person sports until after Labor Day. But his private school, very prestigious private school in Nashville, in Davidson County, is screwing that letter and screwing the new letter of moving it back to October. And Montgomery Bell Academy is playing football, and screw the rest of Metro Public Schools. And that NBA's headmaster is the other villain standing right next to John Cooper.
Well, he's just an extreme hypocrite. That's
Absolutely.
what he is. You cannot sit there and play for your school and prevent others. And it's really, it's close to livelihood, because these players, they've been working their ass off all summer, putting in blood, sweat, and tears, doing all these things, trying to live somewhat of a normal life. And then this guy, the principal or the
headmaster, because they have fancy names at NBA.
Yeah.
VU All Access is who we know. Our buddy who lives next to Chico Golf Club says he's primed to weigh in here, and it's Gioia. Thank you for the pronunciation. So I'm curious to see what VU All Access has to say about this. But yeah, the headmaster of NBA says we'll play football, but you public schools, I signed the letter that it's not smart for you.
That tells me that it's political pressures. That's what that tells me. I don't know why he signed it. I'd love to hear a statement from the guy, but he's probably not going to be public, right?
Right.
So that's an issue. But you know what? I don't give a rip about that guy. That guy does not make the big decisions. The man in the mask on the screen is the ultimate villain. He is the guy. Okay? He is Voldemort. That's who he is. Yeah, I said it. Mayor Cooper is ruining this city one day at a time. I mean, that's what he is. And he justifies it. The reason why I put this up there, fear equals power. He is using fear and his power to ruin our cities, our schools, and something that I give a rip about. I'm from Nashville, okay? This is my city. I grew up here, blood, sweat, and tears. And this guy comes in here and he blocks everything. Everything. And the justification is safety. He doesn't want to move one foot in front of the other. He doesn't want to move forward. He wants to either stay stagnant or take steps back. I hate this guy. He's the worst. He's pissing all over our city, and it's eventually going to turn to ashes. The economic impact of Nashville, and you talk about metro schools and the school systems, it's been proven you can go back, but he doesn't want to deal with it. He's scared, he has fear, and he has way too much power. And this is one of those things that you cannot do anything about. Completely helpless. And I feel like, I don't feel like we live in a democracy. Like they voted this guy in, and now and who would have known that he would have to take the reins on a pandemic within a city, a booming city at that, right? Nobody would. But now that it has happened, he is now destroying the city of Nashville and the county of Davidson. And I cannot stand him. And I think that a lot of people would agree with me. It has gone too far. You talked about kicking the can. This guy has kept kicking the can, pushing it back. And I feel like the one thing he's trying to do is just to keep pushing it back until there's a vaccine. And that's not going to be probably until 2021 or after the election. But I wish we could impeach and get this guy out of office because he's destroying the city of Nashville.
All right, so I want to get to some comments. Mookie says, well, that escalated quickly. And so View All Access, who we talked about, he's an NBA guy. He says he has several comments here, not excusing Joya, just stating that he was acting as the president of independent schools, not as the NBA headmaster. But either way, NBA, Lipscomb played, and look, again, he's saying not excusing. He's just explaining the situation. I don't care. I don't care about that because Lipscomb Academy played. A lot of who was it? FRA did not. Father Ryan did not. Innsworth and NBA did not. But a lot of other private schools inside, the Davidson Academy, DCA played. A lot of schools, private schools inside Davidson County, went ahead and played football last weekend and are moving forward with it. And now
the world didn't end, did it?
No. Football was played and kids had fun, and
that's going to be the only way to influence Mayor Cooper. I don't even want to call him Mayor Cooper. I'm going to just call him Cooper.
Well, and Bruin Academy played, but they're also in Williamson County.
But that's the only way it's going to influence this guy to see that playing high school football without in-school learning is okay. You can do it.
Right. So we're going to get to that here in a second. And View All Access says, yes, political pressure as the mayor's kids go to NBA.
And let me tell you this, and I should have prefaced this, and Austin knows this. I hate politics. Austin hates politics.
I can't stand it.
We don't like them. I hate this. And A to Z Sports is not about this. But when you make decisions that influence what high school football and really what the city does, write that word right above my head, Nashville. You see Nashville? That means something to us. And I Democrats, Republicans, I don't care, but the decisions that are made have impacted in a negative way the city in which our company talks about, right? This is just infiltrated it. I hate it. I don't like talking about it.
So Joe Dan Cornett says kids will miss out on higher education because of him, as well as because they lose a chance to earn a scholarship. So look, I know
he doesn't think about that.
A great example is McGavick. And I know McGavick's head coach, Jay Gore. He was one of my coaches at Brentwood High. And I haven't talked to Coach Gore about this, so this is nothing coming from him, just my opinion on a McGavick-like situation. Metro Public School, right? Not a ton of support. Jay Gore does so much beyond football for that program and for those players, those kids. And maybe I don't think McGavick has any D1 SEC or Power 5 level players, but that's not the point here. The point is McGavick has a lot of kids who might not be able to go to college at all without some type of scholarship for athletics. And it's about a McGavick kid who uses his senior season to get an offer from UT Martin. And UT Martin now or UTC or TSU or Austin P or whatever smaller football league in the state or out of state for that kid who plays Metro football, who doesn't have the resources. And that's a lot of Metro Public School. And View All Access says tons of kids don't shine until senior year. Growth spurts happen at 16, 17 years old, and that's when kids have their best opportunity to gain a scholarship. It's not about the SEC or Power 5 level scholarships. Those kids are going to get theirs regardless if they play this year or not. It's about the other opportunities for kids to get out of a situation, to have an opportunity to go to college, to better their life, and this is robbing them of that opportunity.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I think that's absolutely the truth. And the repercussions, again, that's the worst part. We don't even know them. We don't know the economic of the country, of the world. We don't know. But here locally, and the hard part, I think we've seen a lot of people say this in the comments, is the data that Cooper hides behind doesn't align with the decisions that are made.
Well, does he even hide behind him? Because the data, he's not showing his work. And I've saw so many people.
Well, no, he tweets it out every day.
But he's not showing his work.
That's his justification. That's the justification, Austin.
But he's sending out just data, right? What you're saying, but he's not.
There's 2,000 active cases, and there's 700,000 people.
No,
It's so ridiculous.
But again, Zach, my point is, like, in math class, teacher said, show your work on your problem. I just don't want to see the answer. I want to see you work through it, right? I want Mayor Cooper, and I talked about this, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that transparency, whenever he said 0 fans at Nissan Stadium, that was last Wednesday, I believe, I said, I want to see the Titans plan that the Titans themselves say they're confident in. Mayor Cooper has not shown his work on his math equation of how he made his decision. He's throwing data out there that's just the actual cases, but he's not showing us how he got to somewhere. He's just saying, here's my decision. Here's my answer.
I told you, I don't like politics. Is the council meeting they had last night, is that like public? Can you watch that? Can you go to that?
I do not know.
I don't know either, right?
I'm sure us as
it'd be televised, so the facelessness of our city. And again, I don't know what it is, but those guys should be propped up and they should be, they're called out.
Well, and I'm sure us as a media organization could apply to get access to something like that because of our attachment to high school football and football in general. So, look, I think that's look, I don't know what the answer is, but I'm sure we could get access as media if we felt like it.
So with the decision that was made last night, I'm going to ask you, Austin, do you think high school football in Metro Nashville will be played this fall?
It's a loaded question, but I'm going to do my best to answer it. But first, I'm going to let you tell people about the Tucker Agency.
Yeah, the Tucker Agency can help you save on insurance. It's very, very simple. TuckerTN.com. They're Nashville's independent insurance agency. Will Tucker and his team can take care of you. Think about and look up how much you pay for your insurance. Homeowners insurance, renters insurance, life insurance. Email Will and his team, will@tuckertn.com. People have done it. A to Z Sports viewers alike, I've talked to, they have done it and they have saved money. Will@tuckertn.com. You email them, just say, heard about you on A to Z Sports. How can I save money on my insurance? It's literally the easiest email you could ever do. And it's so simple. And all of a sudden, you have money back in your pocket and you have good insurance. That's all I have to say. That do what you want with that.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. Shades still coming down the pipe here today as on this Wednesday show. Zach, you asked me, do I think any Metro high school football will be played this fall? And my answer is no. Just I don't, and it's not because of what I would do. I think they should be playing. Williamson County played, all the others, Sumner County played, all the other counties around Davidson County played football across the state. Knox County played last week. Memphis, they're playing. I think they should play. But what the Metro School Board is using to not play is the lack of in-person learning. And I think that's something that I think we need to address is kids are doing their schooling virtually on their computers, just like Zach and I are doing this show, just like you guys are watching this show, right? This is basically us having a class forum, right? But that was happening, and it's still happening in Williamson County. Zach, did you know that Friday is the first time that 6th graders and freshmen in high school will be in the school? Friday, this upcoming 2 days from now. That'll be the first day that 6th grade and 9th grade goes to school. Then on Monday, it'll be the first day for everybody else to be back to school. On this past Monday, elementary school was full for the first time. But guess what? They've been practicing football, and they played high school football last Friday, and they're going to play high school football this upcoming weekend, whether it's Thursday or Friday with a hurricane. And seniors and juniors and sophomores, who are the ones that are playing high school football, have yet to step in the school, and they've played 2 games. So is in-person learning necessary for high school football to be played? I don't think so. I don't think it should matter because like the high school season is already super short to begin with. It's over. It's like the semifinals or the playoffs by the time Thanksgiving is here. And so now Metro has already kicked the can once the Labor Day weekend, and now they're doing it again back to October. So what? They're going to play 1 month of regular season before the playoffs are supposed to start. So at that point, they're not going to play. They're going to use well, you know what? It's already October anyway. We'll just not do it this year.
Yeah, and
that's my expectation, which is unfortunate.
I'm with you. I don't think they're going to play. The history usually, your history decides or at least shows what your decisions will be made in the future, and everything that has been said. And I thought it was a good comment because VU All Access says what the mayor's going to do is hide behind the health department and the school board. And right, you have to have a fallback, and the fallback is, well, it's not just me making the decisions. I'm not up here alone. He's going to hide behind the fear and the power, as you see down below, of what he can. And look, at 9:45, he's going to speak to the public in our world, sports world, and you know what he's going to do? He's going to hide behind that. It wasn't my decision. It was the board's decision. Right. And it's a sad truth, and I don't think they're going to play this year. I think that they're going to run away, and fear is going to dominate Middle Tennessee Metro football.
So what do you think about the in-person learning aspect? Do you agree with me that it shouldn't matter?
Yeah, it shouldn't matter. You should know how I feel. I don't think it should matter. I think kids should go to school. I think – and it really goes right into my shade, but – they should be able, look, take safety precautions, wear masks. I'm not just this free runner, wild west John Wayne. Like I do think that there needs to be precautions to control and contain the virus. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me twisted. But you can still live life and still do activities and be okay, right? And that's, I think, the basis of my argument.
All right, A to Z Sports, you're live on a Wednesday. Zach mentioned that Mayor Cooper is going to talk next hour with the Midday 180. So
and there's no free promotion. I'm curious to see what this dude's going to say. Look, we know the Midday 180 guys. We're friends with them. We've got relationships with them. We work with them, A to Z Sports.
I was texting Chad about this last night. Like, I'm really looking forward to what Mayor Cooper does. And
you know what? I'm not jealous at all. I couldn't interview Mayor John Cooper. I could not do it. I'd yell at him. I'd bitch him out.
Yeah, and that's
I'd make him look like I don't want to say it, but I'd make him look terrible. But that's my personality. So somebody else has got to step to the plate. And look, I think I'm excited about hearing it, but I think he's going to run and hide like he always does.
All right, A to Z Sports. Let's get to throwing shade on this Wednesday. Zach's going to have some good shade. I've got shade that's. Yeah, I'm not the restaurant you're dead to me type person, but I'm getting really freaking close, really close. And I also have a question to ask Zach as well during the shade. But before we get to shade, let me tell you about where you guys should be working out. And really, Mandu, during this pandemic, that's what you should be doing because your regular gym might have some restrictions. They might be closed. You might not feel comfortable going into an open gym with tons of equipment and a bunch of people in there sweating all over that equipment and trusting other people to wipe down stuff. Well, at Mandu, you don't have to worry about that. It's a 15-minute workout, which sounds ridiculous at first, but then you do it and you figure out real quick it's a really hard 15-minute workout that simulates 5+ hours in the weight room. Mandu.com. Your first workout is free. It's full body electronic muscle stimulation by appointment only, which means there are really max of 2 other people in the studio when you're there. So total of 3. And everything is wiped down and sanitized after every appointment. Mandu.com. Your first workout is absolutely free.
I did mine yesterday. I will say, Austin, out of the year plus that we've been doing, that was the hardest workout I've ever had.
Really?
For Mandu. It was great. I feel a lot better, gaining strength. Mandu does work. That's no joke. We don't endorse things that don't work. That works.
Oh, Mandu absolutely works. Absolutely. Okay, Zach. So I know you've got your shade, and I've got a question to ask you. This can be really quick, but I want to let you go first with your shade about how you feel, because I know it's somewhat related to what we've been talking about.
Yeah, so it has to do with what the CDC changed, right? The health guidelines. And this is something that nobody talks about, but everybody, we talk about falling back behind and justifying whether it's data or boards or health department. The CDC is what the standard of what we've been following for some time, right? Well, they recently changed and adapted what they suggest to deal with the virus, which I think is very, very big and very influential. And they changed it to say if you've been in close contact within 6 feet of a person with COVID-19 for at least 15 minutes, but do not have symptoms, you do not need to go get tested. They are basically, because they found out more statistics on said virus, to say that asymptomatic, like you should go get tested once symptoms are realized. That's what we have become, right? The fear of, oh no, everybody has it. I don't know. You feel good. I feel good. We could have it. Oh no. They are telling us, as the virus has evolved within our country, that if you don't have symptoms, you don't need to go get tested. I think that moves mountains of the way we need to view and approach this virus moving forward. And that I'm reading straight from the CDC. This is not me making this up. This is from the government CDC, right? The recommendations. I think that's groundbreaking, and I think we need to talk about that more, because a lot of people are trying, they are scared to exit even though they feel fine. And I think that that's big. Again, everybody's waiting for this vaccine. Some people will take it, some people won't. The virus is not going anywhere. We know that. But I do think that that's big from the CDC.
All right, A to Z Sports throwing shade here on Wednesday. Armchair QB says he's throwing shade at the AP poll for putting Big Ten and Pac-12 teams in the top 25. I actually disagree with that shade from Armchair QB. I think it's fine for the first one because it gives us a fair representation of what it should look like. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think the fact that Ohio State was ranked number 2, I'm down with that because Tennessee is 25, right? Which you can disagree or agree with that. If Tennessee came out and they were 16th because they took the Big Ten and Pac-12 out, I want to see what
I don't want to talk about that either.
I want to see what it's supposed to look like at the beginning with everybody involved. So I disagree with that shade. Bobby disagrees with Zach's shade. And then Bobby says, I'm throwing shade at Kevin Warren for Jeff. Big Ten Jeff isn't here today. So Bobby is throwing shade for Jeff. Zach,
Bobby, I just read you the CDC thing. How can you vehemently disagree with that?
He says there's significant data showing that asymptomatic carriers can act as super spreaders, and this could potentially hide a lot of community spread.
The CDC is telling me that you don't need to get tested unless you have symptoms. That's what they're telling you. Where are you getting your data? We're getting this is from the source, right? This is from the originators. So, Bobby, you can't. Shade on you, Bobby. You're better than that, Bobby. Bobo, you're better than that.
All right, A to Z Sports here live. I have shade, and I'm throwing shade at a restaurant in town, which I do not normally do, but I have to. But real quick, Zach, I got an email because I graduated from UT. I got an email from the University of Tennessee asking for donations, right? Like that happens probably twice a month. But they always have an alum and their name and their message attached to asking for donations, right? Did the University of Tennessee strategically use 2017 graduate Lauren Herbstreit for donations to pique my attention to the donation email? In your opinion, Lauren Herbstreit, not related to Kirk Herbstreit, but spelled very similar, did they use Lauren Herbstreit to catch my and other UT alums' attention to get more donations?
I think it's genius marketing. It's tomfoolery. It is tomfoolery, but it is genius marketing, right?
Yeah.
It's like somebody with the name of Michael Jordan, right? Like yes. Michael Jordan was a pretty generic name.
Right.
Donated to the University of Tennessee. Why don't you?
Yes.
Or a guy named Peyton or something, right. Something just, or Manning, last name Manning.
Exactly. Yes.
Charlie Manning. Charlie is never related to Peyton, Archie, Eli, or the boys. But it's a great marketing.
I mean,
tactic.
because
A
it
little
works.
scummy,
Like
but
I opened the email because I saw Herb Street, and I was like, "What?" And then I was like, "Oh God, it's asking me to give $10, and it's only one Netflix subscription per month." So that's not my shade. I think marketing Tennessee does a good job of that. So look, they got me in that kind. I didn't donate. My actual shade, Zach. My actual shade goes to a new restaurant establishment in Nashville, and it's near my house. It's in the 21st Avenue, Hillsboro Village area.
Well, and make sure, and Ethan, you're right. You got to make sure you throw shade at the correct eatery because that could easily be done.
I'm not going to name names, but
boo.
Because they're new, their food is really good. Their kitchen sucks. And look, if you know the Hillsborough Village 21st Avenue area, it's a brand new brunch breakfast spot.
Oh, I know exactly what it is.
It's not that difficult to figure out. They messed up my wife and I's order on Saturday 3 times. The same order was messed up in 3 different ways. So I ordered omelets. My wife ordered veggie breakfast tacos, and we ordered a side of fries. So I get to my car after picking it up, no fries. So I got to go back inside and wait 10 minutes for them to get me a side of fries. Then I go home, and there is sausage in the vegetarian tacos, which is a massive no-no. And there's also not even the sauce that is supposed to go with the taco order either. So I had to take my ass back there and fix the other 2 orders, or the other 2 mistakes, a total of 3 mistakes in one breakfast order. And this is not the first time this place has made a mistake with my takeout or with my in-restaurant order. That I cannot understand how, when you place a takeout order and you go pick it up, there should not be a missing item. It is the only job of the person who is placing and setting up the takeout orders to check the damn receipt for what's supposed to be in the GD bag. And if you can't do that, you should not have a job. I understand that right now is a stressful time for people in the service industry. And I try to give grace. But good Lord, get out of here. Too many times, I swear, it's almost once a week for me. And we do takeout more. Like, we were takeout people, and we'd come home and eat at home rather than eat out, even before the pandemic. But I feel like it's once a week where I have to go back in someplace and say, I'm missing something from my order.
Okay, so I fully now understand what happened. What did you do?
I got it for free. And I got an extra alcoholic coffee drink for free. So I got my entire order for free.
Did you speak to the manager?
I spoke to the manager. And that's the thing is I like their food. Everybody I've talked to at this establishment, whether it's a hostess, a server, or a bartender, have been phenomenal people. They're bright. They're having fun with their job. They're personable. They get to know you. They've got to know me because I've been there so often. And I told the manager to her face, I said, look, you people, everybody I've talked to has been great. I didn't you people. Everybody I've talked to has been great here, but you've got to get your kitchen in order and get their stuff straight because this is getting ridiculous.
So you and your brother brings up, did you check the bag before you left?
Yeah, I did. And I was missing the fries. I checked for the items, right? And I was missing the fries, so I went back before I left to get the fries. Then I got back home and noticed that there was the sausage in the taco that was not noticeable from me just opening and looking. You had to and that's the thing. My wife's vegetarian. That's a mistake. You cannot make that mistake. If you are going to put something as vegetarian on the menu, it better damn sure be vegetarian.
It's the most extreme mistake a restaurant can make.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it is. Now, in my opinion, if they have mayonnaise on it, I'm blowing a gasket.
But nobody is they're like nobody has dietary restrictions over mayonnaise. Like it's a preference. Right?
I do.
Yeah, I know. But again, like that's it. That's inexcusable. That something like that.
So yeah. So you are going back?
We don't know. We're taking a break. It was look. We used to have a weekend routine. We'd go on a dog walk. We'd come back. We order food and we eat. Right.
This is hilarious, Austin, because not but like a week ago, I said, hey, I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about this because we've talked about it before, but I got into another altercation with the manager, and you go, I don't want to hear about your altercation with the manager, and I go, I completely understand that. I have them a lot. I had 3 straight issues right in a row because I don't care, as you know. So what was your question that you had a question?
My question to ask you was, did UT use Lauren Herbstreit for more donations?
I thought you were asking me some sound advice on how to handle
no,
effing managers.
No. They're not dead. Like the restaurant is not dead to us yet. They're on life support.
It would be 6 feet under the ground for me. And I tell him, a guy tried very quick story. I was in a restaurant in Oxford. The manager tried to give me a $15 gift card to come back. And I go, I'm not coming back. I'm never going to return. You cannot buy my love. I told him that. I go, your $15 does nothing to me. I don't want it. And so take a break, but if you don't return, it's justified. Now I kind of want to go. I want to test them out.
My overall look, the food's good, like when it's right, but it's been wrong more often than it's right the first time. And my overall shade is that the takeout order being wrong in general. I had another restaurant within a week of this happened on Saturday, right? What I'm talking about here with the tacos and the fries mess, right? This happened on Saturday mid-morning for brunch. Then the previous Tuesday, I had something else happen. No, it was Friday, the day before. Oh my God. It was 2 days in a row of multiple restaurants completely jacking up my to-go order where I had to go back in because they were missing something. I don't understand how you don't check the to-go order. If it's your job to place it on the little shelf of pickup bags, you look at the receipt, you check, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 5 items are in there. Bang, okay, it's ready. You don't put it up there when it's not freaking ready. It's ridiculous.
Sometimes I disagree with your shade. Today, I adamantly today was an agreeing day. From where we started to where we are now, I think we're on the same page when it comes to Vanderbilt, when it comes to the mayor and the headmaster of MBA, and with food.
Yeah, did we disagree once? Once the show started?
Well, yeah, we don't want to air our dirty laundry before the show, but once the light went on, well, to kind of preface this, Austin and I had a very heated exchange prior to the show, which let's just say not suitable for work or anybody to hear that conversation. But we've played pretty nice for an hour and 3 minutes.
Yeah, look, and like the not suitable for work pre-show battle argument, that happens maybe 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah. I mean, Tux, my dog, thought that he was in trouble.
Yeah, I mean,
he went and grabbed his toy and went to his bed. And he never grabs his toy and goes to his bed. He usually just goes to his bed. So,
well, I apologize to Tux for thinking Tux was in trouble this morning.
That wasn't on you.
Well, for my part of the argument, I feel like I should apologize to Tux.
Well, hey, for an hour, this is a good show. All clean.
It was. Hey, we got a busy day today. You've got Blitz at some point today. We got to figure that out. We've got meetings on meetings on meetings. So make sure you're following us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. The Titans are off practice today. That's why we stacked our day with meetings. So thanks for watching, guys. Look, I thought it was a really good Wednesday show. Really good Wednesday show talking about a couple different level topics here on the show. But good show. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. The Tighten Up Podcast episode is out today. Also, Buck 615 Sessions podcast from yesterday in your feeds as well on the A to Z Sports Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great Wednesday.
Adios.